an icon of our time. For man's dignity, equality, and freedom. A selfless human being who struggled not only for the black South Africans against apartheid, but for the dignity of all of us. History will throw a very kind light on him. Mandela deserves it.
Nelson Mandela was a giant for justice and a down-to-earth human inspiration. Many around the world were greatly influenced by his selfless struggle for human dignity, equality, and freedom. He touched our lives in deeply personal ways.
Nelson Mandela was one of the stellar figures of our age. He was the father of his nation, a man of vision, a freedom fighter who rejected any violence. He gave a personal example to his people in the long years that he spent in prison. He never became proud or haughty. He acted to heal the wounds within South African society, and with the force of his unique personality, he was able to prevent the eruption of racial hatred. He will be remembered as the father of modern South Africa and as a moral leader of the highest order.
I would like to express my extreme grief at the passing away of a man who stood for human rights and for equality in this world. He made us all understand that nobody should be penalized for the color of his skin, for the circumstances into which he is born. He also made us understand that we can change the world.
In Mandela's case, he lifted a nation to freedom. He had wisdom, compassion, and courage. And maybe the hardest thing to possess, forgiveness.
His name will be not only in the history books, but in the hearts and minds of many people around the world that will never forget his example of courage and freedom, but also of tolerance and spirit of reconciliation. What a great example Nelson Mandela was, Nelson Mandela is, because this example will be bigger than death.
Nelson Mandela was one of the great figures of Africa, arguably one of the great figures of the last century. He was the father of modern South Africa, a multiracial, pluralist democracy where people were judged, to use Martin Luther King's phrase, on the content of their character, not the colour of their skin.
He represented the conscience of the world. He also remained a beacon of hope for those struggling against oppression and injustice long after he had led his own people to victory over such ills. In a world marked by division, his was an example of working for reconciliation and harmony